Hello everyone. Welcome back to our ongoing journey through the epic and gritty narratives of the Book of Judges. It is an absolute privilege to have you here once again as we continue our deep, unfiltered, and cinematic exploration of these ancient stories. If you've been following our series, you know by now that this isn't just a dusty history book. It is a raw, often uncomfortable, and deeply honest mirror reflecting the human condition. It captures the jagged peaks and the deep, dark valleys of what happens when a community, graced with freedom and divine promise, chooses to prioritize comfort over commitment and temporary pleasure over eternal purpose. Today, we are going to peel back the layers of two of the most fascinating, high-stakes rescue missions in the entire Bible. We're moving beyond the Sunday school summaries and looking at the grit, the psychological tension, and the divine strategy behind the lives of Othniel and the unforgettable left-handed strategist Ehud. This is a story about the fragility of peace, the danger of complacency, and the shocking ways God chooses to restore hope when everything seems lost. Let's start by setting the scene. Following the passing of Joshua, the man who stood at the center of the conquest, the one who saw the walls of Jericho crumble and the sun stand still, Israel entered a period of profound spiritual entropy. It is the classic story of a second or third generation. When you inherit a life of freedom without having to fight for it, without having to bleed for it, you tend to take it for granted. The generation that conquered Canaan eventually died out, and a new generation rose up, a generation that didn't know the Lord or what He had done for Israel. They stopped listening to the whisper of the Spirit. They stopped reading the blueprints of their lives, the law of God, and started writing their own rulebooks. The Bible summarizes this era with a haunting, chilling phrase: everyone did what was right in their own eyes. Think about that for a second. That is the definition of absolute moral and spiritual anarchy. When your own eyes, your own desires, and your own comfort become the ultimate standard for truth, you lose the ability to see the cliff you are walking toward. Israel began to treat the presence of God like a spare tire, something they only reached for when they had a flat, but ignored when the road was smooth. They mingled with the Canaanites, they bowed before Baal and Asherah, and they told themselves that they were being culturally relevant. It was the ultimate deception. But here is the truth about God. He is not a distant, passive observer. When His children walk into the dark, He doesn't just watch them go. He allows the consequences of their rebellion to find them, not out of malice, but out of a desperate, parental need to wake them up. He removes the protective hedge because they've already pushed Him out of the center of their lives. Enter Cushan Rishathaim. The name itself is a masterpiece of biblical description. Literally means Cushan the double wicked. He was the king of Mesopotamia, a man who saw the world only in terms of what he could take. For 8 years, he made life in Israel a living nightmare. Imagine the psychological toll, waking up every single morning, working the fields until your muscles ache, only to have a foreign army march in at the harvest and strip everything away. It wasn't just a loss of resources. It was a loss of dignity. It was a loss of hope. It took 8 years of this crushing weight for the people of Israel to finally stop blaming the political situation, stop blaming the economy, and finally look in the mirror. They fell to their knees, face down in the dirt, and finally uttered the words that God had been waiting to hear. We brought this on ourselves. We left the only God who actually gives life. These idols we've been worshiping, they are stone, they are wood, they are hollow. They cannot save us. And the moment that cry went up, not a casual prayer, but a raw, desperate, repentant shout, God moved. He raised up Othniel. Othniel wasn't an accident. He was a protege of Caleb. He had grown up watching what it looked like to have a heart that followed the Lord fully. When the Spirit of the Lord came upon Othniel, he wasn't just given muscles. He was given divine clarity. He led a ragtag group of Israelites against the mighty Mesopotamian war machine. And in a victory that defied all military logic, they won. That victory brought 40 years of peace. But here is where the tragedy of the human heart becomes most visible. 40 years is a long time. People died, children grew up, and the memory of the 8 years of sorrow began to fade. Peace, when it is not sustained by active, intentional gratitude, becomes the breeding ground for complacency. Israel began to slide back. And this time, the pressure came from Moab. Enter King Eglon. If Cushan was the double wicked, Eglon was the embodiment of unchecked human greed. He was a man who lived only to feed his own appetites. The Bible even points out his obesity as a mark of his gluttony and decadence. He bullied Israel for 18 years. By now, the people were experts in the cycle of decline. They knew how to sin. They knew how to get caught, and they knew how to cry out. But this time, God chose a deliverer who was as unconventional as the situation was dire. Ehud. Ehud was from the tribe of Benjamin. Now, in the Hebrew mindset, the name Benjamin means son of my right hand. It's a term of honor, of strength. But Ehud was left-handed. In a world of right-handed warfare, that was considered a tactical, almost embarrassing defect. If you were a soldier, everything you trained, for your shield, your sword strike, your stance was calibrated for a right-handed strike. Ehud was an outsider, even within his own culture. But God has a habit of taking our defects and turning them into divine weapons. Ehud didn't look at his left-handedness as a reason to sit on the sidelines. He looked at it as a secret advantage. He handcrafted a double-edged dagger about 18 inches long and strapped it to his right thigh. Why? Because every soldier in the world strapped their sword to their left thigh. Nobody would ever check his right side. It was a masterpiece of strategic faith. When Ehud went to deliver the tribute to King Eglon, he made sure he got the king alone. He told the tyrant, "King, I have a secret message for you from God." Eglon's greed, his hunger for a secret advantage, was his downfall. He dismissed his guards, leaving himself utterly exposed. In that quiet private room, the underdog struck. The 18-year reign of terror ended in the blink of an eye. Ehud walked out, locked the door, and by the time the guards realized what happened, he was already gone. He rallied the people of Israel, and they rose up with a fire they hadn't felt in nearly 2 decades. They seized the fords of the Jordan, they routed the Moabites, and they secured 80 years of peace. 80 years. That is a lifetime of stability. All because one man was willing to use the weakness he was given to fulfill the purpose he was called to. So why does this matter to you and me in 2026? Because we all face our own internal or external pressures that threaten to strip us of our joy and our faith. Maybe you feel like you are left-handed in a world that only respects the right-handed norm. Maybe you feel like an outsider. Or you feel like you don't have the standard skills to be used by God. Maybe you feel like your past mistakes, your own personal 8 years of sorrow have disqualified you from being used by the Creator. The story of Ehud reminds us that God isn't looking for standard soldiers. He is looking for people who are willing to be used exactly as they are. He is the God who takes the things the world calls weaknesses or outcasts and turns them into His greatest weapons. Your unique story, your specific struggles, even the parts of you that you think are defects, God can and will use them if you offer them to Him. As we look toward our next chapter, we are going to see the stakes go even higher. We are moving from the age of daggers to the age of steel-iron chariots. We are going to meet Deborah and Barakand, a woman named Jael, who proves that God's victory doesn't depend on military might or social standing, but on the willingness to stand in the gap when no one else will. But I want you to sit with this for a moment. The cycle of the Judges is a reflection of the human heart. It is the story of how we drift, how we stumble, and how God graciously pulls us back. The peace that Ehud brought was long, but even that peace eventually gave way to new challenges. Why? Because peace is not a destination. It is a discipline. It is a daily decision to keep God at the center, to remember the miracles, and to guard our hearts against the slow, creeping pull of worldly comfort. If you are feeling overwhelmed, if you feel like you are stuck in your own Moabite oppression, if you are waiting for a breakthrough, I want you to remember Othniel and Ehud. Remember that God didn't use a perfect person. He used a person who was willing. He didn't use an army of millions. He used one man with a hidden dagger. He didn't wait for the people to become perfect before he saved them. He responded to their cry the moment they turned back to him. Don't lose heart in the waiting. And don't mistake your current peace for an excuse to wander away from the one who bought your freedom. Keep your eyes on the author of your story. The same God who raised up Othniel and Ehud is the same God who is with you right now, in the middle of your own battles. He knows your struggle. He sees your left-handed potential. And He has a plan to turn your trial into a testimony. The story is just getting started. And the next victory is going to be even more miraculous than the last. We are about to witness the power of faith that changes history forever. Join me in the next episode as we encounter the courage of a woman who stood tall when the leaders of the nation faltered. Until then, keep seeking the truth, keep standing firm in your faith, and never forget that you are never alone in the fight. I'll see you in the next episode.